In this visual novel, you have to slay the princess, but if you fail, the world ends. Is this innocent-looking princess really that evil? Is this innocent-looking man really going to pee his pants reading this horror visual novel? Hello everyone, my name is Bruce, her name is...
You can just call me Princess.
Princess, and today I'll tell you why you should slay her, i.e. play this visual novel. To the anticipation of many, Slay the Princess released with the expectations of being a narrative-driven, Stanley Parable-esque visual novel, and suffice to say, they succeeded and exceeded those expectations overwhelmingly, especially mine, as I clicked on it on a whim, not expecting a psychological horror visual novel. But surprise, surprise, it's exactly because Slay the Princess brandishes these psychological horror elements, much like a peacock brandishes its plumage during mating season, that it ends up being unique. The story always starts the same. You're on a path through the woods, and at the end of the path is a cabin, and in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're there to slay her. If you don't, it'll be the end of the world. Sorry, I'm not British, so clearly I'm not a very good narrator, but since this setup is plain, matter-of-fact, and literally pre-described in the Steam trailer, Slay the Princess starts right when the going gets good. You can get to the princess in less than a minute, if you feel so inclined. The most tantalizing feature about Slay the Princess is its art. Every background and sprite is hand-drawn, and a parallax feature is used to make environments feel dynamic. I couldn't imagine the amount of work this takes. It makes me feel bad that half the time I'm just goofing off, watching anime, eating Doritos, and drinking Fanta Zero. But all the effort put into the visuals is rewarded because it's one of the most aesthetically unique visual novels I have ever played. As you proceed through the story, you make multitudes of choices along the way that inevitably bear consequences, affecting how both yourself and the princess will appear and behave in the subsequent chapter. However, there are no set routes in Slay the Princess. Even if you end up on the same chapter twice, it can end in a completely different way depending on your choices. And with 10 chapters total, there's a lot of content to explore here. There are 97 achievements, of which I only got 25 in my first 4-hour playthrough, which means Slay the Princess is quite replayable. By playthrough, I mean finishing a set amount of time loops before Slay the Princess's finale, and yes, there are time loops. It's done much like the Stanley Parable, where you reset and must choose different choices. I emphasize must because the visual novel will prevent you from doing the exact same choices twice in one playthrough. This is so the player advances in a new direction without the visual novel having to be forceful about it, so I appreciate this mechanic. That's great and all, but give us what we really want to know. Did you pee your pants? No, I was wearing shorts. Slay the Princess isn't a jump scare or overtly scary visual novel. It's certainly creepy, with the soundtrack accentuating this by not being overly in your face, but rather being vibrantly quiet, emphasizing the evolving emotions of the princess and your player character, as well as the environment itself as it appropriates itself to the mood. That was poetic, but what I'm trying to say is don't be a pussy. Slay the Princess is a psychological horror, not a cheap jump scare one-shot. But the horrorness of it wears off rather quickly. Once you read through the game loop a couple of times, you won't be driven to make choices out of fear, but more so curiosity. If anything, the narrator's reactions to your choices become a reoccurring comedic effect that makes the visual novel tonally much less creepy. If you're looking for a hardcore psychological horror game, this isn't it. With the vast array of theoretical paths, an interesting thought to me is that it's highly likely not one person shares the same first experience as another. Everyone who plays Slay the Princess for the first time will have a unique path tailored to the way they feel they should play the visual novel, which is really neat. Slay the Princess is definitely not a master narrative. It certainly will present you with deep retrospective emotions towards the end of the experience and many other emotions throughout, but it's more about the experience and journey along the way that culminates in what I feel makes Slay the Princess a great visual novel. That experience can be a little repetitive and might not be for everyone, but those who are caught by its unique embrace will surely enjoy it. It's a bit pricey if you plan to only give it one playthrough, but the breadth of content, as well as how unique it is, might encourage you to play a second or a third time. Such a uniquely tailored psychological horror experience can rarely be found in visual novels and games in general, so I highly recommend you give this one a try. And since it's Halloween season, don't forget these 4 words: heart, lungs, liver, nerves. Heart, lungs, liver, nerves.